do you know what wubba lubba dub dub means?
That's just Rick's stupid nonsense catchphrase.
It's not nonsense at all. In my people's tongue, it means, I am in great pain. Please help me.
Rick Sanchez isn't who he wants you to think he is. He acts like a god of chaos, the untouchable nihilist who belches at the meaning of life. To him, nothing matters, or so he says. But what if that's the biggest lie in the multiverse? What if the only thing Rick can't escape, with all his genius and all his gadgets, is the one thing that actually does matter to him? He can portal to infinite worlds, turn himself into a pickle, even destroy entire realities without blinking. And yet, with all that power, Rick Sanchez cannot fix the one thing that's truly broken: himself. It started with a simple, happy life ending in a flash of light. One ordinary day in his garage, Rick watches a portal open without warning. An alternate version of himself steps through, drops a glowing bomb at Rick's feet, and vanishes. In an instant, the world explodes. His family, gone. Murdered by himself, or at least a version of the man he used to be. In that moment, something inside Rick Sanchez shatters beyond repair. For a long time after, Rick is simply gone. What crawled out of that tragedy was a different creature entirely. A Rick consumed by grief, guilt, and the white-hot need for revenge. He builds a portal gun from the ground up, fueled by rage and genius, and sets off into the infinite multiverse to hunt down the other Rick, the one who took everything from him. He becomes a ghost, a wanderer, drifting through reality after reality, in a desperate search that yields nothing but corpses and disappointment. Years pass. Bodies pile up, many of them other Ricks. Yet the one he seeks always slips away. Still, Rick keeps going, each portal jump another attempt to escape the anguish that stalks him. But you can't outrun pain forever, not even at light speed through alternate dimensions. Every new universe Rick visits is hauntingly similar. In none of them does he find what he's looking for. There's no happy ending at the end of his portal gun, no justice, no closure, just emptiness stretching out to infinity. Somewhere along the way, Rick gives up the chase for his family's killer, at least publicly. He lands in a reality where his daughter Beth is alive, a Beth from another life, one who never knew the tragedy that birthed this Rick's sorrow. Here, Rick pretends to start over. He moves into the Smith household with Beth, her husband Jerry, and their kids, Morty and Summer. On the surface, it's a chance at a new family, but underneath, it's a ticking time bomb of unresolved grief. Rick has returned from his nightmare a changed man. Brilliant, yes. Powerful, yes, but utterly broken. What happens when a man who lost everything is given a second chance he doesn't know how to handle? The Rick Sanchez we meet in Rick and Morty wears a mask as impenetrable as his scientific armor. He belches, he laughs at everything, he screams that nothing matters, Morty. But that's just the facade. Rick's cynicism is not a philosophy, it's a shield. And every so often that shield cracks. Consider his infamous catchphrase, wubba lubba dub dub. It sounds like goofy nonsense, a drunk grandpa's attempt at being funny. We all laughed along, until we learned what it really means. In the language of Rick's best friend Bird Person, wubba lubba dub dub translates to, I am in great pain, please help me. There's a moment late one night when Rick is alone in his garage, surrounded by the clutter of his inventions and empty bottles. Earlier that day, he actually let himself care about someone, a cosmic entity named Unity, who understood him better than most. But she left him, fearing, rightly, that Rick's toxicity would drag them both down. So Rick does what Rick always does. He drinks and drinks. And in the silent darkness of that garage, with no Morty around to perform for, Rick Sanchez puts a laser to his own head. He almost ends it. The brilliant Rick Sanchez, who can create life and destroy planets, tries to kill himself out of pure despair. He passes out just before the trigger clicks, a literal near-suicide that no one is there to witness. In one early adventure, Rick concocts a love serum for Morty that spectacularly backfires, mutating the entire planet's population into grotesque Cronenberg monsters. The world plunges into chaos because of Rick. And how does he handle it? He doesn't save the day, he doesn't even say sorry. Rick simply grabs Morty and jumps to a different reality, one where he and Morty died minutes earlier from an unrelated accident. They bury their own corpses in the backyard and seamlessly replace themselves in this new timeline, as if nothing ever happened. Problem solved, right? Except Morty is left traumatized, literally digging a grave for himself while Rick shrugs it off. The Cronenberg world, with all its billions of ruined lives, is abandoned like yesterday's experiment. Rick moves on without a hint of remorse. This is how Rick deals with the messes he makes, not by cleaning them up, but by abandoning them. How do you fix a multiverse when your solution to every disaster is to skip to the next one and never look back?
You gotta accept your part of the blame. I'm not the one who fouled up the serum. I'm not the one who haphazardly, mixed a bunch of nonsense together and created a bunch of Cronenbergs. You gotta fix this, Rick. All right.
He does the same with personal problems. When Beth, his daughter in this adopted timeline, insists the family attend therapy, Rick's response is to transform himself into a pickle.
I'm Pickle
Yes,
Rick.
Pickle Rick. He'd rather become a talking dill pickle and battle sewer rats for a day than spend 1 hour discussing his feelings. It's absurd, it's hilarious, and it's painfully telling. Rick would literally risk death in a sewer rather than confront his pain and guilt in a therapist's office. The therapist later spells it out. Rick's grandiose adventures are just elaborate avoidance mechanisms. He's the universe's ultimate escape artist, running from accountability and vulnerability at every turn. Even the grand sci-fi wonders Rick creates can be seen as avoidance. He once built an entire mini-universe battery to power his car, playing God to dodge something as mundane as a trip to the galactic hardware store. This is a man who cannot take the straightforward path. Why? Because the straightforward path often leads through the valley of his own feelings, and Rick will detour to the ends of reality to avoid that. But all this escaping has a cost. With each consequence dodged, Rick's karma piles up just out of sight. Abandoned realities, traumatized grandchildren, unstable gadgets. The fallout gathers like a storm. For all his efforts to live without attachments, Rick Sanchez is never truly alone. Morty and Summer, his grandchildren and adventuring sidekicks, stick by his side through the insanity. They're often treated as comic relief or innocent bystanders in Rick's exploits, but look closer. Morty and Summer are mirrors reflecting Rick's fractured soul back at him. Morty started as a wide-eyed 14-year-old, nervous and compassionate. Basically everything Rick is not, or pretends not to be. Over time, exposure to Rick's universe changes Morty. He grows more jaded, more willing to accept that ugly things happen, and you move on. In one episode, Morty, shaken by the cosmic horrors he's seen, tells his sister Summer,
Nobody exists on purpose. Nobody belongs anywhere. Everybody's gonna die. Come watch TV.
It's a line dripping with Rick's influence, a teenager parroting his grandfather's nihilistic mantra as a coping mechanism. How heartbreaking is that? Morty's innocence is being eroded by Rick's worldview, and in that erosion, Rick can see a reflection of his own lost self. And then there's Summer. She's more assertive than Morty, more willing to challenge Rick's behavior, yet she craves Rick's approval. When her parents' marriage fell apart, Summer was the one who escaped with Rick to a Mad Max-style apocalyptic world just to vent her anger. She embraced bloodshed and anarchy with a fury that startled even Rick. In that moment, Summer mirrored Rick's own coping strategy. When life hurt too much, she dove into chaos to feel anything else. Rick encouraged it with a proud grin, maybe because he recognized himself in Summer's rebellion. But later, when the adrenaline faded, Summer broke down. She felt her pain. Unlike Rick, she eventually talked about it, cried about it, and began to heal. Summer's not a cynic. She's a hurt kid who wants to believe in people and love, despite Rick showing her how to numb herself. Her willingness to feel her feelings is another mirror held up to Rick's face, one he can barely stand to look at. Rick's life is an endless loop, a snake eating its tail across infinite dimensions. He keeps repeating the same mistakes, replaying the same tragedies with slight variations over and over. He's not truly exercising free will among the multiverse. He's trapped by his own trauma, recreating it wherever he goes. Every Rick in every reality is haunted by some version of the same ghost. Think about it. There are infinite Ricks. And so many of them end up exactly like our Rick. A sad, drunk genius sabotaging his own chance at happiness. Is that a coincidence or a curse that Rick brought on himself? He certainly had a hand in it. In his obsession to avoid pain, Rick literally reshaped the multiverse to cage himself in a comfortable lie. He helped create the Citadel of Ricks, a place where infinite versions of him could hide from the rest of the universe and from their own enemies. He even built a trans-dimensional wall called the Central Finite Curve, ensuring that in every universe behind that wall, Rick is the smartest being alive, the ultimate authority. Why would he do that? Control. If Rick can control the narrative of the multiverse, maybe he'll never have to be the victim again. Maybe no one he loves will ever be taken from him again, or so he hopes. But that control is another illusion, another escape. In the end, it comes crashing down. One person sees through it, Evil Morty, a version of Morty who got tired of Rick's endless cycle of pain. Evil Morty literally blows up the Citadel and punches a hole through the Central Finite Curve, escaping to whatever lies beyond a universe ruled by Ricks. In doing so, he forces our Rick to confront the ugly truth. The universe Rick built on denial and avoidance is broken. The multiverse Rick tried to master is in shambles, its inhabitants suffering from the fallout of Rick's ego and negligence. And Rick is left falling through space, watching the work of his lifetime collapse, with only Morty's trembling hand in his to remind him he hasn't lost everything. Not yet. So here we are. Rick, back at the start of his loop, hunting the same villain, the Rick who killed his family, all over again in the ruins of his comfort zone. He's right back where he began, alone with his guilt and anger, dragging Morty with him on a revenge quest that will likely solve nothing. Because how can it? Killing his wife's murderer won't bring her back, won't magically fix Rick's soul. Nothing in the multiverse can do that job except Rick himself. And he's just not capable of it. Not now, maybe not ever. This is the grand tragedy at the heart of Rick and Morty. A man with infinite possibilities who is imprisoned by his past. A man who cannot change no matter how many different worlds he visits or creates. Rick will keep running, keep joking, keep fighting, all to avoid one simple truth. He is broken. He has been ever since that day in the garage. And no portal gun, no science trick, no multiverse reset button can fix that. The only one who could even possibly fix Rick is Rick. But he's terrified to face himself,